Hello, Teacher Aaron spoken word followers. You might be looking at this video and wondering what in the world is on your head. I thought you'd be wondering that. I have a short story that I wrote a couple years ago and then I'll get to why this is on my head. In Grand Rapids Community College Display Student Magazine, Winter 2017, I shared another poem with you from this edition, 108th edition. But this is a short story that I submitted called Adisa, Bongani, and the Great Drought. And I'll first start by saying what I'm trying to recreate with this, the story that I'm about to read you takes place in Africa. And I just wanted to preface the story and preface this with saying, although I don't have any African heritage in my family, or African American heritage, like in the lineage of my family, while I wrote this story, I was researching a lot about the different cultures in Africa, and I'm fascinated by the different types of clothes that people in Africa wear. Women in Africa, depending on which part of Africa you're in, have specific hats that they wear. And men will have specific hats that they wear. So I did the best I could with what I had to try to recreate that for you. This is just a winter scarf that I wrapped around, but I just wanted to preface that because I don't want to come across by doing this that I'm trying to be disrespectful. I'm just trying to recreate a feeling for you while you're listening to this story today. So, and I will try with as best I can with I'm going to try to do like a South African accent. We'll see how it goes. So one more thing before I get started. This story I feel is very important with everything going on in the world right now with the coronavirus and political divisions between Democrat, Republican. Let's do it this way. We need to do it this way. People fighting about religion, about different people's gender identity or whatever. Across we could talk about 20 different topics that are dividing our country. And this story is about coming back together, which I think is one of the things we're all going to have to learn how to do is how to come back together in order to get through this thing, or hopefully carry that with us after this is done. But this story is called Adisa, Bongani, and the Great Drought, and the names are actual African names that I researched. Deep in the heart of Africa, there lived a small village of ants. Within this village, the elders were deeply respected. What the elders said to do or believe was stated as fact and was not to be argued with. A young worker ant by the name of Adisa, meaning the grateful one, had a very important future in the way things would take shape for his nation, though at the time he had not realized it. Several miles away from the ant village, there existed a village of people. Within this village, the elders were also respected. Once, when a young boy argued with the tribal council, he was banished to the bush for 2 days with no food or water. He never questioned the elders' judgment again. In this village, there also lived a promising young boy, though his name was Bongani, meaning the lucid one. Every day the elders would summon several small children to send into the bush. bush to collect water from the local stream called Chikiri, which means created by God. Many moons passed when Adisa and Bongani traversed to Chikiri, collected their water, and came home. Neither child knew of the other's existence, nor cared much for anything other than doing their duties and going back to their villages. But a great unrest was beginning to form within the tribes, and the elders could sense it. Members of the tribe who interacted with people of other tribes would quickly escalate into arguments and fights. There was hate brewing among the tribes across the nations. Each tribe felt better and more deserving of the resources of the land. Some individuals could even be seen arguing in the fields with each other about how their physical features and skin patterns meant that the gods favored them more. The elders did not know why the unrest was there, but they could feel it in their blood and bones. People of all tribes were turning on others who were not like themselves. One such day, the feeling of something being not quite right was so high that the highest chief elder fell and fainted. No one knew why this occurred, and they immediately sent him to bed, where he stayed for a long time while his condition remained unchanged. Around the same time, an unrelenting drought began to pierce the land. The crops dried up, cattle died, and the ground grew hard and scaly. The Chikiri River produced less and less water every day. The ants and people from each village became very worried. They did not have enough water to take care of everyone. Adisa was minding his own business as he walked to the river Chikiri. Even though his village was going through hard times, he managed to let out a whistle as he made his daily journey for water collection. Adisa had an uncanny ability to be happy despite his outside circumstances. He approached the river to find a small trickle of water remaining. In disbelief, he sat down at the river's edge and stared at the trivial amount of water. Around the same time that Adisa sat on the riverbank, Bongani approached on foot with a large water satchel to be filled. Though this young tiny ant and young boy had never met each other, suddenly fate had brought them both to the river's edge to stare at the same trickle of water. The tiny ant, Adisa, was the first one to speak. He looked up at Bongani from his pebble on the ground. Tiny ant looking up at a young boy, like insect ant, and offered him a greeting of good days. Bongani at first could not hear the tiny ant's voice. So tiny. After several moments, he started to look around. When finally, his gaze met the tiny ant on the pebble, dressed in the tribal wear of his region. He was surprised. "Ah, good day to you, friend," said Adisa. "Forgive me, I did not realize you were down there speaking to me," said Bongani. "It is quite all right, brother. We are in hard times," said Adisa. The ant and young boy began to talk about the troubles in their tribes. They were at a loss for explaining the behavior of hatred that they saw in their elders towards people different than them. Adisa and Bongani spoke of how it was a shame that their elders were so blinded by things that these two understood so well. As they were speaking, a strange thing began to happen. From the bed of the Chikiri River rose the water spirit. The spirit addressed both children and questioned their motives for speaking to one another. Once the Spirit was assured that the children were truly innocent in their friendly motives, it began to explain something important. The Spirit told the children how it had caused the drought to make the people of the land realize their behaviors towards each other. The Spirit asked each child to place their water satchels on the rocks of the riverbed. As each child did this and returned to the riverbank, something started to happen. The satchels, which would have been empty if left to be filled by the tiny trickle, were suddenly bursting full of the coldest water the nation had ever seen. The water spirit instructed the children to return to their villages and share the water with the highest chief elders of each village, only if they promised to not speak of what had happened at the river. Each child returned to their villages full of excitement. They could hardly contain their smiles when they presented the satchels to their chief elders. The elders at first were upset with the children as they saw what was brought before them. Why, they scolded, would they present them with such a cruel joke? The children stood at respectful attention while being berated by their elders, to whom they could not speak back to for fear of being disrespectful. The elders in each village simultaneously opened the satchels to find the coldest water they had ever seen in their long and tired lives. They stuck a finger in the water and tasted it. As each elder tasted the water, a most magical event occurred. The elders gained a sparkle in their eye, and they began to smile and laugh like young children. A large idea started to grow on each chief elder's mind. They called for an assembly of the villages in which they instructed each member to stand in a straight line and look up to the sky with their mouth agape. The chief elder walked to each village member and placed a small drop of water in their open mouths. By the time the elder reached the end of the line, every member of the village was dancing and singing with each other, and the joy across the villages could not be contained. The chief elder of each village sent for correspondence to each other for one large gathering. All the people of every nation gathered for a magnificent feast in which everyone was welcome. It mattered not the skin pattern, god of worship, hair color, type of body, whether ant, person, or gazelle. For 1 week, the beings of the land celebrated with each other until all was well again. At the end of their celebrations, the great Chikiri River opened its waterways again. The water flowed higher and faster than it ever had before, and there was never another day of drought in the lands. To this day, if you travel to the heart of Africa and speak with a tribal elder or child, they will explain, with a glimmer in their eye and a smile on their face, the story of hope. They will tell of how the innocence of Adisa and Bongani saved the land. They will tell you how, whether ant or person, the members of the earth all share one beginning and one ending. The members of the earth have many things in common, and when not blinded by putting their own needs or status first, many great things can be accomplished.